Man, Rafael Devers has had himself an eventful year. We'll talk about that and preview Week 8 up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Nola. Giolito, Castillo, Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on May 9th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we have some more Rafael Devers drama to talk about. The Cubs are calling up Cade Horton. We'll play a little Scotty Doesn't Know and then review Week 8. That's right.
I was hoping that would come back.
Yeah, there wasn't too much going on here on Thursday, so we've got
the problem with Scotty Doesn't Know is that, like, I am disincentivized from getting it right because then you don't get to play the clip.
Right.
You know, you don't get to play the sound clip, which is what everybody wants, including myself. So I almost have to take a dive.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to wind up playing it a lot anyway, I think. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Try your best, guy. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
Let's jump in.
Holy cow! How about that?
All right. So we were talking beforehand, trying to figure out, man, who are the oh my goodness gracious players of the night? And you know what? There wasn't really that much that hit us. So we'll just talk about the Dodgers and D-backs because that seems like the two most notable performances of the night. Scott, I'll let you start with whoever you want. You want Brandon Pfaadt or Yamamoto? It's up to you.
Well, I never pass up an opportunity to crush Brandon Pfaadt. So let's go ahead and do it again. He pitched well. Against the Dodgers. Credit where credit is due. 6 1/3 shutout innings against them. And that was rebounding from what was his first start? His worst start of the season, I should say, at Philadelphia, where he was just terrible. So, so good. He had a good day. I still don't think there's a lot to like here. He got, 10 whiffs on 99 pitches. That's not particularly impressive. And basically in line with the season rate, which, by the way, has gone down from a year ago. Pfaadt is missing fewer bats. His strikeout rate is down considerably from a year ago. Not even 8K per 9 for Brandon Pfaadt this year. He still gives up very hard contact. And all his expected stats, like, it's funny. Last year, he underperformed his expected stats, and this year he's outperforming his expected stats tremendously. The expected ERA is over 5, despite the mid-3s ERA. The FIP is mid-4s. It just doesn't look good. None of it really looks good. I'm not saying Brandon Pfaadt won't have quality starts like this sometimes. I think he's going to eat a lot of innings for the Diamondbacks and maybe win a decent number of games because that's a pretty good team. But I think he's a marginal contributor in fantasy.
Yeah, digging into this start, I wanted to find more. And I know Brandon Pfaadt fantasy managers won't love the way that we're starting this podcast. D-backs fans won't love it either. But if we're just keeping it real, man, he allowed 10 hard hits in this game. A very high 94.5 average exit velocity against the fastball got crushed in this one. And on the season, I mean, the sweeper has been a good pitch for him. 4 of his other 5 pitches had an xWOBA of 365 or higher entering this start, which is a really high mark. So it does seem like there has been some level of luck involved. You mentioned the xERA is up over 5 this season. That and the average exit velocity only going to go up after this start. So it was a great outing for Brandon Pfaadt, no doubt about it. You know, very impressive stuff to do this against the Dodgers here. I still consider him a sell high candidate. So if you can turn him into, you know, a top 40 starting pitcher, top 30 starting, like, obviously aim higher and then I guess work your way down. But I would say
that's a good point. That's a good angle to take with it because it looked like the sell high window may have closed with as bad as he was against the Phillies last start. And I think this start against the Dodgers is going to catch a lot of people's attention. Certainly the fact, you know, I pointed out the other day that part of the reason Michael Wacha has been overlooked in fantasy is because 1-4 record at the time. Now it's 2-4, but a bad record, bad win-loss record, which especially in points leagues will suppress a guy's production. Well, Pfaadt is 6-2. So just the opposite. And that's,
he does go deep into start. He's gone 6+ in 6 of 8 outings. So
yeah, like I said, he might his win pace might exceed his actual, like all his other stats, because he goes deep into games and because he has a good offense. But he's not winning 30 games or whatever. Yeah. I don't think that's quite what it paces out to, but more than 25. He's not doing that. And there are going to be stretches where he is starved for wins after this early gorging on wins. And so what I'm saying is that's another reason you could take advantage of it, is because he's going to show up high in the year-to-date numbers just because of the number of wins he has.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the other side of this game. It turns out Yoshinobu Yamamoto is human after all. A rough outing here at the D-backs. 5 innings, 5 runs, 2 homers allowed. Got himself in trouble in the 4th inning of this game. He started off walk, single, hit by pitch, then grand slam allowed to Gabriel Moreno. Basically just did not have his splitter in this one. The velocity was down 2 miles per hour. It only had 2 whiffs, a 13% CSW. So the D-backs were laying off, and credit to them. They did a good job here against, one of the best pitchers in baseball so far this season. He entered this start allowing 4 earned runs total, and then he allowed 5 earned runs in this game. So it was a down start, Scott, but I still think, one of the best starts to the season in terms of just collective resume has been Yamamoto so far.
Yeah. It's until this start, he had basically lived up to the hype he was getting last year. In fact, I'd moved him up to 6th in my rest of season rankings at starting pitcher.
I have him somewhere around there too.
Because, my biggest concern for him is, particularly after he came back from the injury, I forget what injury it was, but an injury that cost him a lot of time last year. He wasn't going deep into games at all. Like, he wasn't even going 5 innings consistently, much less 6. And so I was worried, particularly with the Dodgers, the way they're so careful with their pitchers in general, and all the surplus they built up this offseason, that they'd really limit his workload again. But that hasn't so much been the case. He's gone 6 innings, I think 3 or 4 times already, has Yamamoto. And with as good as the ratios have been, that's an ace. And I don't really worry about durability, because while he did miss time with injury last year, that wasn't an issue in Japan. He was very durable. So yeah, I think he's great. Like, I don't know what happened with the splitter in this start. And if we find out that there was something going on, obviously we'll reevaluate. But the way Yamamoto has started out this season, I'm inclined to look past this and still see him as a fantasy ace.
Yeah, especially because, once you get outside of the top 3 to 5, it feels wide open right now in terms of the rankings. So just based on how well he pitched before this start, I mean, Yamamoto has earned being pushed that far up. I have him ranked as my SP7. You mentioned you have him as your SP6. And assuming this, splitter doesn't just lose the splitter all of a sudden, then I do think he will be continue to be awesome moving forward. Let's talk about a few other pitchers here that were pretty good here. We had a pitchers duel out in Atlanta.
It's time to duel.
Nick Lodolo up against Spencer Schwellenbach, and 2 that have been a little inconsistent thus far. Lodolo, 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, had 13 whiffs on 93 pitches. His velocity was up across the board, and the curveball definitely on in this start for Lodolo. And on the other side, Schwellenbach, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, had 13 whiffs on 93 pitches here. And notice his velocity was up as well. Still giving up some hard contact here, but the slider looked very good for Spencer Schwellenbach. Scott, what did you see from these two, Schwelly and Lodolo?
Part of the reason I find Schwelly, if that's what we're calling him now, part of the reason I find him difficult to evaluate is because he has that very deep arsenal, 6 pitches, and he'll vary the usage. You mentioned his velocity was up. On some of the pitches, it was up. Curveball 2.1 miles per hour, cutter 1.7. The slider was down 1.2. So he varies the pitch usage from start to start. The pitches don't even always look the same. There's just so much variation for Spencer Schwellenbach that it's hard for me to get a handle on when he's actually doing something different, because he's kind of always doing something different. I know he throws a ton of strikes. I know he has a lot of weapons, clearly. I know he misses bats at a solid rate. And so I think he's good. And I don't know that we need to go further than that right now. At one point, I had him inside my top 15. Now he's outside my top 15, but he's in my top 20. And how big is that distinction? Not that big. I think he's fine. I think you just stick with Schwellenbach, and he's not always going to be perfect, obviously. No pitcher is. But I am, whatever struggles he goes through, I've kind of already made up my mind on him that he is, if not an ace in fantasy, a must start in fantasy. So that's kind of as far as I think we need to go with it, at least for right now. And then Lodolo is more confounding to me, because you mentioned his curveball was on in this start. And to the extent it was missing bats, yes, he got 6 whiffs while throwing his curveball 31% of the time, 6 whiffs on the curveball. It didn't look like the typical Nick Lodolo curveball. Like we were already talking about how that curveball wasn't moving like it does at its best, how it wasn't dropping as much as it usually does. And it had 2 fewer inches of vertical break. It was dropping even less. He was throwing it harder. It had even less break. And so it wasn't like the conventional Lodolo curveball. So I don't know that it's really like back. I don't know. It could work out fine. It was missing bats with his other pitches too, with the fastball and the sinker. Actually faded his changeup, which was weird. Only 8% of those versus 22% normally, which is weird in part because it's been his hardest pitch to hit this year, 120 batting average against. But he didn't break out the changeup. Had a great start anyway. So I don't really know what's going on with Nick Lodolo. He's been good more often than not, just not in the way that he should be, and not in a new consistent way that we can point to and say, okay, well, this is why Lodolo's successful in spite of his curveball. So I remain pretty skeptical. Obviously, he needs to be rostered. I'm just afraid of counting on Lodolo for too much.
Do you think, does the curveball movement matter, Scott, if it performs well? Like it was good in this start. It hasn't, it's been more inconsistent this season, but in this start, 6 whiffs, 43% whiff rate, 38% CSW. Like, does it matter what the movement profile is if it does well?
I mean, ultimately the performance is what matters. It's the reason I'm fixating on the movement profile is because this is not what his movement profile is supposed to be. So we don't know what to expect from the curveball if it has this movement profile, if it even is going to have this movement profile going forward. Because like I said, this was even less drop than we had been seeing and more velocity. I just don't know what to expect. It worked in this start. We can say that. But is it going to be a long-term fix for Lodolo's curveball? I have no way of saying. So it's just a big question mark.
All right. Before we hit our first break, just a big thanks to everyone for watching us live. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe on the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Let's take a break, and we'll be back right after this.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale. Ronaldo! Wonderful goal.
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball. Today, news and notes. Hunter Greene was diagnosed with a grade 1 right groin strain and is expected to go on the IL, or in fact, he was already placed on the IL, it looks like. So, we talked about this yesterday, Scott. give him ample time to return. Don't rush him back. Don't do the all right, he'll miss a start, but we're not going to put him on the IL type thing. Give him some time off. Hopefully he comes back and he's as good as he has been all season.
Yeah. Grade 1 is I think encouraging. It means hopefully a minimal stay on the IL. It could extend longer than that, I suppose, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be a long-term absence for Greene, and hopefully he'll just pick up right where he left off.
All right, let's talk about this Rafael Devers thing, man, because I like Rafael Devers, the player, but he has been involved with some drama this year. Apparently told reporters on Thursday that he is not willing to play first base, and there was a ton of quotes basically saying the Red Sox, this is what he said, that the Red Sox told him to put his glove away and focus on DH, and now they're going back on their word. And it seems like there's some kind of dissension between him and the GM there, Chris Getz, and I don't know, it all seems kind of spiteful, I guess you could say, like, you guys told me to put my glove away, now I'm not going to use it kind of thing,
Yeah, like, you made the decision to force me at DH, now you got to live with it. I mean, it seems to me that if he was unhappy going to DH full time, this would kind of be his escape. They're kind of offering him a lifeline here. That also, by the way, would greatly help the team because it would allow them to call up maybe Roman Anthony with the DH spot being open. He also said they should turn to the market to fill their first base need. Jeez. And I can understand. Of course, I can understand him being disappointed with the initial move to DH and being frustrated by that. It'd be great to think everybody's going to be the ultimate team player all the time, but realistically, they're not. I just don't understand why, if like I was saying, if the cardinal offense was making him a full-time DH, which a lot of players don't like to do, particularly superstar players. If that was the cardinal offense, and this is a way that he doesn't have to do that anymore, it kind of corrects the cardinal offense. I understand they're asking him to change again, and he was already felt slighted by that initial change. But why not use this as an opportunity to address the initial slight, but also escape from it? Like, say publicly, sure, I'll move to first base, but then that means I'm your first baseman. We're done with the DH thing. I don't appreciate being jerked around like this. Make that publicly, state it out there. So to reporters, let them in on it, let the public in on it. And I think pretty much everybody would be supporting him in that case because, yeah, he's been treated kind of unfairly, but he is willing to do it for the good of the team. And not only does he get that, if he takes that stance, not only does he get a little more public support and potentially even the fan base holding the team accountable because they've heard the story now. Not only does he get that, but he also no longer has to DH, which was what he was hoping not to do in the first place. So it's frustrating to see him just go the petty route instead of doing that. And I know some people have argued there are shorter clips of the him talking to reporters, and they're saying maybe the translation wasn't the most flattering, but they're only looking at shorter clips. And I know some on the Red Sox beat have countered by saying, yeah, but he went on for 6 minutes. This wasn't just we weren't just fixating on this 1 minute clip that you're responding to. So, yeah. And I even read that other Red Sox players were overhearing it and kind of shaking their heads. It didn't seem to play well.
It is a bad look. And I get that there are bruised egos involved here, and he is a superstar. He is the face of their franchise. He was given $300+ million to be, the next great Boston Red Sox player. And so, he wanted to remain at third base. You know what I would say to that? You should have played better. He was a terrible defender. There was no reason why they shouldn't have gone after an Alex Bregman, who entering this season was like 90th percentile at third base, whereas Rafael Devers was 8th percentile outs above average. So you know what? If you didn't want to get moved off third base, you probably should have played better. So that would be my response to that. And if you want to get back on the field, this is your opportunity.
This is your opportunity. Exactly.
And now you're bypassing it to be spiteful, basically. So it's just a very weird situation.
The way I think this could have been avoided, and frankly, I kind of assumed this already happened, was if they didn't present it to him as you're just a DH now, but we'll start you at DH now. You can take some ground balls at first base. Eventually, we'll try to transition you over there. If that's the way the Red Sox went into it, then which is again kind of what I thought already happened, because why would you have a $300 million man be a full-time DH? I assumed the plan all along was to eventually transition him to first base. They just didn't have, with his health issues going on this spring, they just didn't have enough time to acclimate him at that point. So apparently that didn't happen. And so now, I mean, I don't know what this direction this ends up going. We'll just have to see. Obviously, he eventually accepted the move to DH, so maybe he'll accept this first base situation in due time. But he's added a lot of drama to it.
I'll tell you where it is headed, Scott. Util only Rafael Devers next season. That is where it's headed, and that would not be great for fantasy. I mean, there's a lot of season left. We'll see what happens, but a util only Devers, that would not be great. By the way, on the field, he's been doing his thing again. I mean, here on Thursday, 2 for 3, a sock and a shoe, his 6th home run, his first steal, and last 12 games for Devers, 383, 4 home runs, 10 RBI, an OPS over 1100, and all of a sudden, the season-long stat line, it looks pretty Rafael Devers-esque. So, I guess that's really what matters here for fantasy, is that he's, performing. Spencer Strider is scheduled to throw another bullpen on Saturday. Joe Ryan, who missed his start on Thursday due to illness, will start Saturday against the Giants. The Cubs are expected to call up Cade Horton this weekend against the Mets, and he is 32% rostered. This season in the minors, a 1.24 ERA, a .86 whip, 12.9% swinging strike rate for Cade Horton. I mean, this was a first-round pick back in 2022. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, but he's healthy now, Scott. And so how aggressive do you plan to be on Cade Horton?
He's healthy, and the velocity has picked up on his fastball this year. He kind of lost the fastball while dealing with the injuries last year, which is why the numbers were so bad. Average fastball velocity up 1.7 miles per hour from last year, to give the exact number. Top 100 prospect each of the last 2 years, so the pedigree's definitely there. He has a 1.24 ERA at AAA in his 6 starts. There's obviously reason for enthusiasm here, and I think if you need pitching help, it makes sense to go ahead and add Cade Horton prior to his debut. Now, I'm not going to sit here and promise that it's all going to be roses. I'm kind of naturally skeptical of prospect call-ups at this stage of my career. Wasn't always like that, and maybe it won't always be like that, but that's kind of where I am right now. If I can find a reason for skepticism, I will. And in Cade Horton's case, it's that he really just has 2 pitches, fastball and slider. He doesn't throw strikes at a particularly good rate, 62% strike percentage down in those 6 AAA starts this year, walked more than 4 batters per 9, and big fly ball guy. So it's going to be some vulnerability to the long ball. I think the main reason he had a 1.24 ERA at AAA is because 169 BABIP, which obviously, he may be a low BABIP guy with all those fly balls. It's not going to be a 169 BABIP. So, it may be, there may be a learning curve here for Cade Horton, and he may get shuttled between the majors and the minors a few times, or he may not. He may throw 6 shutout innings in his first start and stick around all season long. That's obviously what you're hoping for if you pick up Cade Horton. And I think it's a fine idea. Just, don't expect the world right away, because the chances are you're not going to get that.
And he is being thrown right into the fire, too. I mean, he has to face the Mets lineup this weekend. So not the easiest task for Cade Horton in his first go-around. Zach Eflin is lined up to return Sunday against the Angels. He's been out about a month with a right lat injury. Freddie Peralta threw off flat ground on Wednesday, expects to make his next start. Ivan Herrera is expected to return on Friday. He's been out a month with a left knee bone bruise. And I think he's still out there in like a third of CBS leagues. We've talked a lot about catchers recently in one catcher leagues. Agustin Ramirez and Sean Murphy and Hunter Goodman, names like that. Would you take Herrera over any of those?
I need to remind myself where I have him ranked. It's obviously a crowded group because there are pros and cons for each of them. I have Ivan Herrera behind Hunter Goodman, Sean Murphy, and Agustin Ramirez, kind of working backwards. That's the reverse order I rank them. Herrera, Goodman, Murphy, Agustin Ramirez. And yeah, I mean, it could flip in short order if Herrera comes back like gangbusters. The one I would struggle to rank him ahead of is Agustin Ramirez, but the upside is there for sure. Murphy, I'm getting a little worried about Murphy playing time wise, because lately this is Sean Murphy, by the way. Lately he's been sitting every third game to get Drake Baldwin in more, and Baldwin's been hitting great since he got removed from the starting role. The data looked good even before then. He just seemed to be having bad luck, but he got the game-winning hit here on Thursday, walk-off in the 11th. And I imagine, obviously he's a very talented young catcher who needs playing time. I think that situation where he's starting 33% of the time, it may rise to more like 40% of the time, which would be bad news for Sean Murphy.
Yu Darvish faced live hitters on Thursday, his first time doing so since the middle of March. Justin Martinez has resumed throwing. He's working his way back from shoulder inflammation. Max Scherzer threw a bullpen on Wednesday and then faced live hitters for 20 more pitches. The Dodgers have bumped Tony Gonsolin up to start this Sunday against the D-backs, making him a 2-start pitcher this week. Originally was scheduled to go Tuesday of next week, so that's a nice surprise if you started Tony Gonsolin.
No, he was supposed to be 2 starts originally this week. That's what I pitched him as coming into the week. So I guess he got bumped back, and now he's back in. Yeah. So it all came together.
How about that?
Roundabout way.
And the Pirates have fired their manager, Derek Shelton, after a 12-26 start to the season. Don Kelly will take over as the interim manager. I wonder if this might change the timeline at all for Bubba Chandler, Scott, just because the timing feels a little bit weird. Fire your manager and then call up your top prospect right after. It still could happen. And Chandler is coming off his worst start now, which happened on Wednesday. So that's hope, I guess.
That's unfortunate that we made a huge deal of Chandler Wednesday night, both my article and the video, and then he has a stinker that very night. So I still think if Chandler, if he goes out, because he got to 78 pitches in that start, that first bat as it was, new high in pitches, 78. That's even more than Paul Skeens threw in any of his minor league starts last year prior to his call up. So I still think if Bubba Chandler follows up that stinker with a start more like he's had all along, that'll end up being his last start in the minors. But you're right. It is, Don Kelly, who's taking over for Derek Shelton's been in the organization. So it's not like a totally fresh face or anything. It did give me some pause though, seeing, is now the time you want to introduce your your uber prospect with a managerial change going on.
Mm-hmm. Let's quickly run through some waiver options from Thursday's action. We mentioned Gabriel Moreno had a big game against the Dodgers, 3 for 4 with his first home run, a grand slam off of Yamamoto. He missed Tuesday and Wednesday due to left side soreness, but was back in the lineup. He's hitting the ball hard, just not barreling it up, just not optimal for optimal contact for power. Gabriel Moreno, 40% rostered. I feel like that number is spot on, Scott. I feel like we need to see a lot more before we consider re-adding Gabriel Moreno.
Yeah, I've been hesitant to move him down because I was high on him in the beginning, and I still think the skill set is unchanged. I mean, expected batting average 279. The plate discipline is still great. Average exit velocities. His pull air rate is terrible. It's never been good, which is why the power hasn't lived up to expectations. But he is maybe the best. I don't want to say the best contact hitter, but the catcher who's maybe best built for batting average other than Yainer Diaz. Something like that. Like there's I think still a really useful skill set here for Gabriel Moreno, and he's off to a slow start. But there are enough intriguing catchers who are off to great starts that I agree 40% roster rate is it doesn't need to be any higher than that right now.
Dalton Varsho has looked good since coming off the IL, 3 for 4 with his third home run in just 7 games played so far, 27% rostered, a name for 5 outfielder leagues. Scott, do you think Varsho should be higher than 27% rostered?
Yeah, I would say so. And he just missed being among my sleeper hitters for this upcoming week. Spoiler alert. He gives you some speed, which is nice. He is probably going to sit against left-handers most of the time. So that limits his appeal to 5 outfielder leagues, I would say. But he needs to be rostered in all of those. So that would be more than 27% of CBS Sports leagues.
How do you rank Varsho, Max Kepler, and Evan Carter?
Well, Carter's definitely third for now until he shows some signs of recapturing his upside. So it would be between Kepler and Varsho. It may depend how much you need steals. If steals aren't a big issue for you, I might go Kepler over Varsho because I think he's going to play more.
Mm-hmm. What about Ty France? Is Ty France a thing? 3 for 4 with 2 RBI here. He's hitting 277, 3 home runs, 747 OPS. Not eye-popping, but the expected stats entering Thursday, 295 XBA, 539 X-Slug. Do you buy this at all, Scott? Ty France?
I think he could get back to being who he was prior to last year when he tried to follow in JP Crawford's footsteps, do a swing change with drive line, and it just didn't work out. And he talked about that this spring. So he kind of went back to his old swinging approach. At least that's the story. I don't know if that's what's actually showing up. I haven't looked into it that much, but the results appear to be back for Ty France. So I'm inclined to take him at his word and think he's just reverted back to who he was pre-2023. And that can have some value as a deeper corner infield option. I don't think the upside is especially high, but Ty France can be usable in deep enough leagues.
What about Colt Keith? He is on a bit of a power binge right now. He hit the longest home run of his career on Thursday, 450 feet, did come in Coors Field. Last 8 games, he's hitting 348 with 4 home runs. Those are all 4 of his home runs this season. He is 30% rostered, Colt Keith. Who do you like more, him or Ty France as a, I don't know, let's say deeper corner infielder?
I have a little more trust in France, though. That sounded a little weird. I have a little more trust in France, but Colt Keith obviously has pedigree that he hasn't lived up to yet, and maybe this is the start of it. It's just not nearly big enough of a sample to say. I'm pulling up the exit velocity readings for that 8-game stretch because I know for the season they're terrible. Yeah, even that stretch, less than 88 average exit velocity. I just don't think that's going to cut it as a corner infielder, particularly in a tough park to hit in.
Mm-hmm. And a name for you NL onlyers out there, Rhys Hines. Remember that crazy start he got off to last year? 2 for 3 with a double and his first home run. 33 games at AAA this season. He was hitting .281, 8 home runs, 12 steals. There is power, there's speed, lots of strikeouts. He's getting a chance here. Tons of injuries to the Reds right now. So for those who play in NL only, Rhys Hines is a name for you. Some waiver wire pitchers, Scott. Not much going on here. Got to mention Dean Kramer, who had a nice start. 7 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts at the Twins. The 8 strikeouts were a season high. That's back-to-back 7-inning quality starts for Dean Kramer. And Cade Montero of the Tigers pitched very well in a spot start in Coors Field. 8 innings, 1 run, 3 walks to 2 strikeouts, but 13 whiffs under the hood, 92 pitches. I'm not sure that he's sticking around with the Tigers, but there was a little bit of hype this spring on Cade Montero, so I don't know, maybe deep league just named to watch, scout for now. Any interest in Dean Kramer?
Not yet. There have been, I would say for most of his career, he's been streamable, and that hadn't been the case this year. It had just been a total disaster. But he could get back to being streamable. This is a good first step. Kramer in this start kind of took a Lance Lynn approach, where he ditched, didn't completely ditch it, but faded the curveball and splitter, just went with 3 variations of fastball, cutter, sinker. They seemed to play well off each other, and he had far and away his best start. So we'll see what he does next time. But there is a path toward Dean Kramer regaining fantasy relevance, I would say.
All right, and his next start out, Dean Kramer, is up against the Twins. So back-to-back starts, same opponent. I typically don't love that. So let's see where he goes from here. I agree. I'm not, overly excited to go out and add somebody like a Dean Kramer. Let's take our final break, and when we return, Scotty doesn't know. We'll do it right after this. Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. You know what time it is.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
So here's how this is going to work. If you weren't here for the first time we played, I will give Scott a stat or a fact about a player. He tries to guess who that player is, and the point is for him to get it wrong. So then we can play the clip, and then we get to talk about that player. Scott, are you ready?
I'm ready to take a dive.
All right. First up, I entered Thursday as the number 2 first baseman in head-to-head points and number 4 first baseman in Roto.
Did you say third baseman the first time and first baseman the second time?
I might have, but it's just first base. Number 2 first baseman in head-to-head points, number 4 first baseman in Roto.
Oh, who is that? 2 in points, 4 in Roto. Would that be Freddie Freeman?
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
It is not. It is Spencer Torkelson, who had a big day in Coors Field. 5 for 9 with 4 RBI. He is up to a .254 batting average, .356 on base, 10 home runs, .907 OPS. Plate discipline much improved this season. Hitting the ball hard. Expected stats look good. Scott, is Torkelson just back?
Just disappointed I got it wrong. I knew that one. I just couldn't remember it. Or maybe I wanted you to play the clip now.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a rough stretch there for Torkelson. Did you give the numbers? 133 batting average in his previous 13 prior to this pick?
I know. I didn't give those numbers, no.
Okay. But even while hitting 133 in his previous 13, struck out at just a 21% rate. So I think that's very encouraging. And while I don't think he's the second best first baseman moving forward, I think he's right around top 12.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, I think one advantage that Torkelson has over a lot of the names that we've talked about, he plays every day. Like, for the most part, Aranda has been playing more against lefties. Ben Rice has been playing more against lefties, but Torque is just in there, and they need his bat because they don't have a lot of punch in that lineup. So he does play more consistently than some of these other, breakout first basemen we have talked about this season. All right, Scott, are you ready for number 2?
I'm ready.
My 169 ERA is 5th best among qualified starting pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good one.
169 ERA.
Didn't really give you much with this one.
No. Let's see who pitched today that we haven't talked about.
Hey, you don't know if he pitched today.
I don't. But that's kind of the way this has gone. Let's say Jesus Luzardo.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
Is it Chris Bubich?
It would be Chris Bubich, who dominated the White Sox, 7 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts. He had 16 whiffs on 93 pitches here. He leaned on the changeup. It was great in this outing, and he has been awesome. 169 ERA, 110 whip. Underlying numbers like him a lot, Scott, and you were all over it.
Yep. This was my guy, my most drafted player, and I kept marveling how nobody seemed to be talking him up, even though it seemed like a pretty easy breakout case, given what we saw out of the bullpen last year and what we saw during that very brief period in 2023 when he was healthy. He had been a little bit shaky lately, some struggles with walks, not pitching quite as deep into games, but the overall swinging strike rate is great. He's capable of getting whiffs with a variety of pitches. He, I think, what's the overall strike percentage? 68% coming into this start. That's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Chris Bubich is a real one.
Yeah, let's see. You got him SP 38. I have him at 45. So we're not far off, and he has been, one of the biggest risers this season. Shout out to Chris Bubich. All right, Scott, ready? Number 3?
Let's do it.
All right, I am a shortstop, so I'll give you that. First 23 games, I hit 337 with 5 homers, 6 steals, and 894 OPS. The next 13 games before Thursday, 111, 0 homers, 35% strikeout rate.
Ooh, that sounds bad. What were those initial numbers again?
First 23 games, 337, 5 home runs, 6 steals, 894 OPS.
A shortstop. He started out great and has cooled off. Is it? How many? I want to get it right. I am going to say that the answer is, man, what's a good guess? I'm going to say the answer is, looking through the list of shortstops here. Oh, Trevor Story.
Come on, you're cheating. You can't look at a list.
I wasn't looking at actual numbers. I was just looking at names.
God, what a cheater. All right, it is Trevor Story. 1 for 3 with his 8th steal here on Thursday, but he has slowed down quite a bit. 30% strikeout rate. He is chasing a lot. Still 85% rostered, Scott. Do you think that should be the case for Trevor Story?
How much? 84?
85%.
85? I would be fine with dropping him in a points league specifically, if you didn't need him in your lineup. If you had another shortstop, which is very plausible, if you weren't relying on him as a utility, which is also very plausible, if he's just kind of sitting around on your bench and you don't feel like you could drop him because he got off to a hot start. I didn't think the hot start could last. He was striking out 30% of the time. In Roto, obviously deeper lineups, middle infield spot to fill, and those stolen bases he provides are more critical. So you should hold on to Trevor Story there. But 85 would suggest he's rostered in a lot of points leagues too, and he doesn't need to be. I would, do my rankings reflect this? I might take Jeremy Pena over him in a points league, given the disparity in strikeout rate.
All right, next up. You good to go?
Yep.
Let's go. All right. I was the first overall pick in the 2018 draft, but have yet to live up to that status.
Okay, I should be able to get this one. Casey Mize.
I'm making it too easy now, aren't I? Casey Mize dominated the Rockies, even in Coors Field. 6 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, which were a season high. He had 16 whiffs on 86 pitches. Looked great in this one. I said he hasn't lived up to this status yet, but this season he kind of has. 2.53 ERA, 101 whip. Entering the start, 2.92 expected ERA for Casey Mize, Scott? I kind of feel like, we've been duped a little bit by him before, but I do think this is the best version of Casey Mize that we have seen.
Yeah, I'm struggling with how good of a version it is because
I don't think he's this good. I think he's more of like a mid to high threes ERA guy.
Well, that's the thing because good in terms like, are we just mainly looking at ERA here? His K per 9, even coming off 8 and 6 innings, 7.4 on the year. Now his swinging strike rate is much better than in the past. It's like 2 points higher than he's ever given us before.
I think he's deserved a better strikeout rate than what.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is for as good as the harder splitter has played this year and has helped the swing and miss overall. It's surprising that Mize hasn't gotten more strikeouts. Now, is this the start of a correction, or is this just him facing the Rockies, which have the worst offense in baseball? They've scored the fewest runs in baseball despite playing half their games at Coors Field. Like, this is a dreadful offense. And so maybe that explains the strikeouts. By the way, very coy of you. I was kind of floating Casey Mize before the show as my oh my goodness gracious player. And you didn't seem enthusiastic about it. Now I know why.
That's right. I might have done that on purpose. All right, next up, I am a third baseman on a 30 home run pace, yet some managers have been underwhelmed by my production this season.
Sorry, can you say it again?
I am a third baseman. I am a third baseman on a 30 home run pace, yet some managers have been underwhelmed by my production this season.
Okay. All right. 30 homer pace. That means he only has to have about 6 home runs right now. Right?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Oh. Well, it's Devers, right?
Scotty doesn't know.
Yeah, nobody.
Scotty doesn't know.
Actually, Scott, you're going to kick yourself because it is
Caminero. Caminero.
Maybe one time we'll just do an entire podcast of sound drops. Just keep playing a bunch of stuff. But Caminero, 7th home run. He's hitting 244. Run production hasn't been great, 720 OPS. So I do kind of understand why some people have been underwhelmed by him. Expected stats look a little bit better. The biggest thing that stands out, Scott, is the ground ball rate is just too high for Caminero.
Yeah. And that is often the case for players like this who hit the ball exceptionally hard in their early 20s, come up with a lot of height. And that is the big hurdle they have to clear. And I would say ones with Caminero's pedigree usually do it. I mean, the exit velocities look great. He's not somebody who's going to strike out much, which is impressive given how young he is and how hard he hits the ball. And I don't know. I think he's going to be fine. I'm actually not that worried about him. I'm going to, the ground ball rate is too high. It's like 54%. We've certainly seen higher. And we've certainly seen players succeed with the ground ball rate this high. They succeed as power hitters, I mean. So part of it maybe, I know he's not pulling the ball a ton. At least I think I remember seeing that. Let me confirm.
His home run in this game actually went to the opposite field, but I wouldn't be so upset with him going opposite field in George Steinbrenner Field this season because that's short porch.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's kind of a league average pull air rate. So that's not a big problem for Caminero. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. The expected stats are solid, both around XB and X slug, both around 65th percentile. Yeah, I understand his production isn't there yet, but I think just give it time.
All right, and last name here on the list. I had a 107 career whip entering this season, but currently have a 140 whip in 2025.
Ew, not great. 140 this year, even though it had been low previously. Is it? I want to get it wrong, but I think I'm going to get it right. Is it Bailey Ober.
Ah, come on, Scott. Just say a different name. Say a
I meant to say Jack Leiter. Yeah.
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
All right, it is Bailey Ober, who was meh against the Orioles. 5 innings, 8 hits allowed, 2 runs, 1 of those earned, 6 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 91 pitches. You love to see that. But he's given up a lot more hard contact this season, obviously a lot more hits, which has led to the 140 whip. He's got the ERA down to 3.50. You like to see that. But, just the fact that he's got this elevated whip this season, harder contact, and that fastball velocity is still right around 90, Scott. And last year it was like closer to 92 and doesn't really seem to be getting much better.
Well, I guess it was better in this start. And the induced vertical break 19 inches, which I thought, oh, maybe that's Bailey Ober's fastball getting back to normal. But no, the induced vertical break had been 17 last year, and it was about 17 this year. So I don't know that he needs those 2 additional inches. He's obviously not somebody who throws hard to begin with. And last year, the 91, it's the fact it's 90 now. I don't know that that's enough for this particular profile that I'm actually worried about it. Is it going to cost him some strikeouts? Maybe that would be my biggest concern. But I do think that whip is going to normalize. As many fly balls as he gives up, as good as he is at avoiding walks. That's going to be hit prevention. That's going to be walk prevention. It's going to be overall base runner prevention. So I think Bailey Ober is still good. It's just I had hopes for him being top 20 this year, and now I'm thinking more like top 36.
Mm-hmm. So more like an SP3 than an SP2 there for Bailey Ober, who, look, he had the rough start on opening day, but has got back on track here. We do need that whip to get lower. All right, again, that was Scotty Doesn't Know. Now it's time
Play
for
it one more time.
Wait, play what?
Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know.
Boom. Now it's time for the weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort, no matter where the day takes you. Scott and I both rocking our Travis Matthew hats. Got the spiffy Yankees shirt on here from Travis Matthew. We do appreciate it. Let's get into the schedule. 26 teams with 6 games next week. There are 4 teams with 7 games. Rangers, Nationals, Astros, and Braves. What about the Rockies? They have 6 games on the road next week. Let's get into 2-star pitchers. Start or sit these names. Shane Baz, who has been struggling. He's at the Blue Jays and at the Marlins.
Yeah, I cackled like a madman when you brought that up yesterday, as we were talking about how it didn't seem like you could start Baz right now. But no, with 2 matchups, and particularly those 2 matchups, I think Shane Baz is a little short of must start, but you're probably going to have to start him.
What about Merrill Kelly at the Giants and home against the Rockies?
Yeah, I'm good with it. He's been a quality start machine of late. I'm not saying it will always be so, but those matchups are good enough to run him out there.
Yeah, I did want to quickly pull up because I know he got off to that rough start, but last 6 starts for Merrill Kelly, it's a 2.57 ERA and a .77 whip. Wow, he's been very good. What about Tyler Mahle, who has lost the strikeouts, but he does get the Rockies and the Astros, both in Texas?
Yeah, that Rockies lineup, and this applies for who's the one where this applies for Merrill Kelly in addition to Tyler Mahle here. It just feels like a free space right now when you're not in Coors Field. It practically feels like one at Coors Field, but particularly on the road, it's like it seems impossible to mess up. I'm sure some pitcher will mess it up eventually, just because that's baseball for you. But I think that buys you another opportunity to start Tyler Mahle here, even though some of the underlying indicators are getting concerning. And frankly, that Astros matchup isn't so bad either.
What about Kikuchi, who is at the Padres, at the Dodgers? Tough matchups.
Yeah. And there were some encouraging signs in his last start. The velocity was back to 2024 levels pretty much across the board. But with those tough matchups, I think I'd leave you say Kikuchi for points leagues.
What about David Peterson, who is home against the Pirates at the Yankees? So one very good, one very bad.
Points leagues. I'm fine with points leagues. At least he's a good ground ball pitcher, so that should help to mitigate the damage against the Yankees.
Yeah, that first Subway Series in Yankee Stadium, Scott, I'll be at that first game Friday, May 16th, Juan Soto's return to Yankee Stadium. So very much so looking forward to that. It cost a pretty penny, I've got to say, even sitting up in the nosebleeds. But yeah, very excited to be in attendance for that one. Chad Patrick is at the Guardians and home against the Twins.
Chad Patrick, who is that? He's only 12% rostered. I'd be okay with it in points leagues. He's kind of the very bottom of the points leagues only tier. Not quite high enough to crack my sleeper pitchers list for this week, but he's gone. He's gone 6+ more than I thought he had, and has been decent enough.
Jack Leiter, who in 3 starts since coming off the IL has an 8.31 ERA and a 1.77 WHIP, is home against the Rockies, home against the Astros. Might not be a 2-star pitcher. What do you think?
I mean, the matchups are good, obviously, but there hasn't been a single good start from Jack Leiter since returning from the IL. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah. And then any of these names, just because I know someone might ask, Tanner Houck, Jake Irvin, Ben Lively, Jeffrey Springs, any of those 4?
No, none of those 4.
I agree. 2-star pitchers to add and stream for next week. Scott, who you got?
I've got Michael Wacha. As predicted by me, Michael Wacha is at the top of my sleeper pitchers list, coming off 3 straight quality starts. He's gotten that ERA below 3, that whip around 115. Pretty normal. Michael Wacha numbers, frankly. So I think you pick him up for the 2-star week, Astros and Cardinals, and maybe you should just hold on to him after that. Matthew Liberatore is here as well at Philadelphia. Not such a great matchup. At Kansas City, pretty good matchup. And hopefully Liberatore keeps throwing strikes at an elite rate and sustains his early season production. Grant Holmes is next up here. He gets the Nationals and the Red Sox. And he's been getting a lot more whiffs lately on that slider. Struggled with control, and so the overall production has been up and down. But I think Grant Holmes is trending up overall, and in a 2-star week, hopefully he could give you upward of a dozen strikeouts. Colin Ray is kind of the deep special here, because Colin Ray's 2 matchups are the Marlins and the White Sox. You got to love that. ERA is around 2.40. Obviously, I don't think that's sustainable. It's going to go up by 2 runs probably. But not this week. I think Colin Ray will come through with those 2 matchups. Hayden Wesneski gets the Royals and the Rangers, who are both bottom 20% offenses, believe it or not. Wesneski hasn't looked as sharp in his last few outings, but at least in points leagues, you'll want to take advantage of those matchups. He's got the SPARP eligibility, obviously. Justin Verlander gets the Diamondbacks and the Athletics. Not the greatest matchups, but he held his own against the Cubs last time out. Best offense in baseball. Wasn't terrible. And the previous 3 starts were really good. So I think with the way Verlander's going right now, at least in points leagues, you run him out there for the 2 starts. Finally, Clark Schmidt at Seattle versus the Mets. Tough matchups, but got a 45% whiff rate on 2 different pitches and seems to be trending up. I think you could roll the dice on Clark Schmidt in points leagues.
All right, what about 1-star streamers, Scott? Looks like you have 3 names here on the list.
I do. I have Matthew Boyd going against the White Sox. Hard to mess that up. Nick Martinez also going against the White Sox. We'll see how his weekend start goes. If the changeup plays up like in his previous start, and if he's throwing strikes at a good rate again. Basically, the two factors that led to his breakout last year, they had been absent until his most recent start. So if it continues over the weekend, then I think Nick Martinez is golden against the White Sox next week. And finally, AJ Smith-Shawver. He also has a weekend start coming up against the Pirates. So we'll see how he follows up those 8 one-hit innings last time. But if that goes smoothly, then I like AJ Smith-Shawver next week against the Nationals.
Let's slide over to hitters with the best matchups next week. The Braves, Cubs, Reds, Tigers, and Nationals. The worst hitter matchups, Cardinals, Pirates, Angels, Red Sox, and Mariners. Scott, who are your sleeper hitters for week 8?
Jonathan Aranda coming off a 3-hit game here on Thursday. Boy, there have been a lot of lefties on the schedule for the Rays in recent weeks, which is why Jonathan Aranda's roster rate has fallen to a point that I can even mention him here. But 0 lefties on the schedule for the Rays next week. He still has like a 333 batting average and a 950 OPS. Yeah, you got to take advantage of that righty loaded schedule. TJ Friedel, hopefully this is the last week I put him on this list because hopefully he gets that roster rate up over 80 as it is now, 71%. Homer twice in Atlanta, so the power's still there. Going back home, Great American Small Park for 6 games. And he's the Reds' leadoff hitter. He steals a lot of bases. They have the 3rd best hitter matchups, as you pointed out. Nate Lowe, Nationals, one of 4 teams with 7 games this week. Only 1 lefty on the schedule. He's hit righties great this year. Kyle Stowers, kind of cooled off since that walk-off grand slam, but decent matchups for the Marlins. No lefties on the schedule. I think Stowers is still worth using. Andy Pajes as well. He's been kind of inching his way up the Dodgers lineup, which is, of course, a positive development. All of his games are at home this upcoming week, and he's hit 328 there so far, has Andy Pajes. Rhys Hoskins has about 1,000 OPS over his last 20 games, and he started, heading into the weekend, started 14 straight games. Remember, at one point we were worried about Hoskins sitting too much. 14 straight games in the lineup. So I think Hoskins, solid matchup for the Brewers. Time to use him again. Josh Smith, the Rangers' new leadoff hitter. They have 7 games. One of those 4 teams with 7 games. 3 against the Rockies staff. Good play there. Lourdes Gurriel has been heating up. The expected stats have looked normal all along, but the actual ones were lagging. Gurriel's picking it up again. I like the Diamondbacks matchups this week. Javier Baez, you mentioned the Tigers had the 4th best matchups. Don't trust what he's doing, really, but he's hot and he has good matchups, so you could take advantage of that in his multi-eligibility. And finally, Gavin Lux. Talked about the Reds having the 3rd best matchups. No lefties on the schedule, so he should start every game. And he's hit about 350 off righties this year, has Lux. So hopefully that continues.
All right, that was the weekly preview brought to you by Travis Matthew, apparel designed for confidence and comfort no matter where the day takes you. Big fan of Travis Matthew. Check out this shirt. It's got a couple different Yankee logos here. I mentioned last week that on the Travis Matthew website, they have an MLB collection with a bunch of different teams. So if you want to find apparel for the team that you root for, you can check that out. Obviously, you know, these hats are awesome. You got the little trucker mesh in the back here as well. So big thanks to Travis Matthew for making clothes for any occasion that are not only comfy, but stylish as well. Let's wrap up with some leftovers here, Scott. And on the pitching side, 2 names. Jesus Luzardo has been okay recently, not as sharp last 2 outings at Tampa Bay, 5 1/3, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, did have 13 whiffs. And Ryan Pepio on the other side turned in a quality start, 6 innings, 1 run, 3 strikeouts. Notice the strikeout rate is down for Pepio this season, the whiff rate down on his fastball. And one of the concerns we had with Rays pitchers this season was that the strikeout rate would drop for their pitchers outside of Tropicana. They're no longer playing in Tropicana Field, which helps strikeouts play up. This season as a team, they have a 21% strikeout rate. That's tied for 17th. Last year, the Rays had a 23.3% strikeout rate, which was 11th best in baseball. So I think we are seeing that play out a little bit here, Scott, where not pitching in Tropicana, strikeout rate down for some of their pitchers.
Yeah, and getting killed by home runs too. Pepio was going to be one of the biggest, one of the ones most affected as a fly ball pitcher. Actually, his fly ball rate has gone down this year, but still 1.6 home runs per 9. That's very high. And just seems like everything's kind of gotten worse. And he already wasn't a great control pitcher. He's pretty fringy in standard size leagues, I would say.
That's Ryan Pepio?
Yep.
All right. What about some hitting leftovers?
Do you disagree? You sounded surprised.
Fringy. I think he's fringy in terms of his start status. I don't see a scenario where I would drop him unless he gets blown up like 3 starts in a row or something. He hasn't been great, but he hasn't been terrible either this season.
You actually have him ranked lower than I do, surprisingly. I have him 60th. You have him 64th.
No. All right. So what do I
I
know?
probably need to move him down a little. I have him ahead of Pfaadt. I don't think he needs to be, even though I don't like Pfaadt, I think Pepio needs to be behind Pfaadt.
Yeah. Some hitting leftovers. Bobby Witt Jr. is coming alive. 4 for 5 with 2 doubles, 2 steals, 2 runs, 2 RBI. And in his last 5 games, it's 10 hits, 2 home runs, 4 steals for Bobby Witt. Vinny Pasquantino, Vinny P,
Baby!
has shown some signs of life here. Last 8 games, actually 8 games in May. 343, 2 home runs, a 932 OPS, and hitting the crap out of the ball for Pasquantino. And Bryson Stott has been solid this season. 2 for 4 with his 3rd home run, and he has led off against right-handed pitching since April 11th. Scott, anything to add on Bobby Witt, Vinny P, and Bryson Stott?
Yeah, Stott's been going well. I've been heartened by that. Honestly, it's gone better than I've expected so far, and he has been hitting leadoff some. So
Still swinging against some lefties, though, kind of annoying.
Yeah, but I think he's proven that he's viable in points leagues too, which I didn't expect coming into the year. Witt, never had any doubts there. He's just been, I think he might be among the steadiest studs. So the numbers are going to sneak up on you as some of the hot starters cool off. And Vinny P, yeah, he's impacting the ball much harder. I think, look, I still think we might be underwhelmed by the upside for Vinny Pasquantino, and first base has become much deeper since the season started. He might be more of an also-ran there than we thought coming in, but he's showing he still has relevance for sure.
The call to the bullpen for the Twins. Yohan Duran struck out 1 for his 6th save. For the Rays, Pete Fairbanks got the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. He gave up an unearned run, took his first blown save. The Rays would lose in extra innings. For the Phillies, Jose Alvarado got the 9th inning with the game tied. He kept it that way. And then Matt Strahm got the 10th with a 2-run lead. He gave up 1 unearned run, but picked up his 2nd save. For the D-backs, Kevin Ginkel got the 9th inning with a 3-run lead. He gave up a solo homer, but picked up his first save. And Shelby Miller last pitched on Tuesday. I know they've used him a lot recently, so maybe that's why they gave him the day off here. Mm-hmm. There were also, in all the other games that Shelby Miller closed out, Kevin Ginkel was used before him. So I don't know. Maybe just the way it lined up today, they didn't need Ginkel earlier, and so he got the 9th.
Yeah, maybe. It was a 3-run lead too, which maybe built an extra rest for Miller. I don't think it's going to be a long-term issue anyway, because I think Justin Martinez is going to be back sooner than later. But yeah, I don't feel totally secure with the idea that Shelby Miller is the closer.
And for the Blue Jays, with Jeff Hoffman unavailable, Chad Greene struck out 2 for his first save of the season. I realized I didn't get to Hoffman last night, Scott, but he's had a terrible series out in Anaheim. Any concern over Jeff Hoffman?
I mean, I don't have, other than the fact he hasn't performed well, no. I don't see any obvious red flags here for Hoffman that would make me say, oh, he must be injured or something's broken or whatever. But he can't afford to have this many meltdowns over a short period of time, because if any closer does that, suddenly they're on the hot seat.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm looking, his K- walk rate is even better this year. I mean, it is outstanding. Jeff Hoffman, 31% K- walk rate. That's 5th best among qualified relievers. So
yeah, he was looking like an elite closer before those past 2 appearances.
Yeah, I think sometimes weird stuff just happens for relievers. Maybe I'm making excuses for him, but the numbers look so good for him that I'm sticking with Hoffman. I think he'll be fine. To stream or not to stream on Friday, we have Eric Fetty and Mitchell Parker are facing each other. Jose Quintana is at the Rays. Zach Littell facing the Brewers. Jameson Taillon at the Mets. Nick Martinez at the Astros. Tomoyuki Sugano at the Angels. They strike out a ton.
What is that thing and that saying in physics? What's the saying? A movable force means Sound like an idiot trying to say it.
No, I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to think.
Unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Is that it?
Unstoppable force meets a movable object, or
Yeah, I think that's it.
I don't know. We're butchering.
That's Sagano against the Angels,
Right.
And I don't trust it. No, I think we said yesterday that on a Friday, Quintana at the Rays was the best choice, and if you had to go with the second one, Nick Martinez at Houston, but I don't love it.
Hey, no Yordan Alvarez. I think I can get behind that, and I actually think Sagano at the Angels could work out pretty well there. So I'm okay with that one. On Saturday, JP Sears revenge game against the Yankees. AJ Smith-Shawver is getting the Pirates. Tobias Myers is at the Rays. Shane Smith home against the Marlins.
Yeah, I was going to say Smith-Shawver is the clear winner here against the Pirates, but Shane Smith against the Marlins looks pretty good too.
Yeah.
And I don't really care to pick a third. JP Sears has been good this year, but fly ball pitcher against the Yankees, I'd rather not.
In Sacramento too, that can that could get a little scary there. And then on Sunday we have Luis Severino with a revenge game against the Yankees. Matthew Boyd is at the Mets. Andrew Abbott is at the Astros. Griffin Canning facing the Cubs. Sean Burke has pitched better lately. He gets the Marlins, but he's also Sean Burke. And Tyler Anderson home against the Orioles.
I guess Andrew Abbott at Houston.
I think it's okay.
I mean, I could see Matthew Boyd having a good start at the Mets, but that's a tough matchup, and I'd rather not risk it. And Griffin Canning against the Cubs. I don't really like anybody against the Cubs right now. Yeah.
Man, I kind of want to say Tyler Anderson. I'm becoming the Tyler Anderson guy, and I don't want to be the Tyler Anderson guy, but he just continues to churn out quality starts, and I don't know. The Orioles lineup has been pretty bad against lefties, so I will go on record and say Tyler Anderson against the Orioles. We are going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, and we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.